Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to my channel. So today I just want to take a few minutes and discuss married wings, orientation, marrying them together. So I've got a little collection of materials here. This is some goose shoulder. These are some dyed turkey, and these are, dyed turkey center tails. And these are some white tip turkey and golden pheasant center tail. So when talking about married wings, I've seen some people mounting them upside down, and I'm not sure if they're getting confused over the angle that the wing comes from off of the feather. So I just want to talk about that real quick. So when you look at a feather and the angle of the feather barbs, those feather barbs have that upward curve, which naturally could potentially have that same curving effect that the wings have. So by mounting it upside down, you're essentially getting that curve here. But what you're not seeing is back here. When mounting wings for salmon flies, you want to have the back of the wing to have an angle to it, like a backslash, not a forward slash. So if you're mounting your wings and they have a forward slash to them, you've got them upside down. Flip them over, and that's the way to do it. I'll show you when we put them, how to put them together and form the wing so that way it looks the way it does. So first we're going to go ahead and start cutting some feather pieces. We're just going to make a green Highlander wing. Okay, so you got this is turkey center tail. On the camera. So we are going to take, I'd like to have 4 pieces of the turkey tail. Oh, also you want to look at a feather, okay? And there is a shiny side, and there is a not so shiny side, the flat side. And usually the shiny side has a kind of a curve to it, an inward curve, whereas the flat side does not. This is the face of the feather. You always want to have the face of the feather is what is showing on the outside of the fly. So this would be the left-hand side or the back side of the fly. This will be the front side of the fly. And I'll show you how and why. So we want 4 of each side to make a wing. So we need 4 lefts and 4 rights. But if you'll notice here, that one's broken off. So you can't use that one, exclude that. We'll cut that out. Now we'll just count up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check our 4, make sure that they're good. There's no broken tips or anything in between. So we'll cut those out and set those aside. And then we do the same on the right. Count our 4. Okay. Keep bumping the camera. So then we do the same with the green. So now this edge here, if you look at this one, these are stress marks from the bird from when it was growing. Either they get stressed out in the pen and they start rubbing on things, or those can affect the quality of your fly wing. So you can actually kind of get through that a bit. Down here, this little bit you can use. Likely you'll be tying in about here, so you won't be seeing that at the finished product of the fly, that is. Okay, so we've got our 4. Our front side. then we can do the same over here. Some of these look like they're kind of messed up a little bit. That can be straightened out and worked out, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. So. Okay, now if you get these mixed up and you drop them or whatever, just go back to looking at them again, and you'll have here, this is more of your flat side and this is your shinier side. The shinier side almost looks like shades if you look up close that you can see into. The other side looks like the shades are closed. Then look at the tip here at the angle. That's going to be the fly facing you when you're tying it. And then on the other one, this one we've got 5, so we gotta cut one out. And this is the side to do it on if you're going to be doing that, the side that looks like shades. It's easy to keep up in that. It's easy to tell. Okay. Golden pheasant. And if you look at the golden pheasant, the barbules have much less grab in between them, much less Velcro, if you will. So if you look at a feather, any feather doesn't matter. We use this one because they work really well. It's like Velcro holding it together, see? And then you Velcro it back together. You just move them around a little bit and the Velcro sticks back. So if you think of it that way, some feathers have more Velcro than others, and some have the ability to marry better than others. Golden pheasant has a tendency to be a little bit more difficult to work with. Same thing with Amherst pheasant. But if you're gentle and you don't use too much, you don't touch it too much and mess with it too much, you can get it to work just fine. That's 4. Also, looking at this turkey feather here, if you see on these, I'm taking it from both sides. These are almost perfect center tails on the turkeys. These here. Same with this. Actually, that's more of a side. I'll show you. This is almost perfect center. If you see, both sides are pretty equal from the rackets, from the center line. Both have just about equal sized barbs. So you can, stands to reason that you can make your wings, as we are right here, from both sides of one feather. Whereas with golden pheasant and Amherst pheasant, even the center tails, they're a little bit off on one side. So one side is shorter than the other. So when you get center tails for golden pheasant, you want to make sure you get a matched pair. So that way you have both sides. Otherwise you're not going to have the same length on one side as the other. That's going to affect your flies as well. You won't be able to tie one unless you've got something longer. You'll have to wind up with short, small little flies. You won't be able to tie the larger ones. So when you're picking them, turkey tails, duck feathers as well, actually, you'll see on the wing quills where one side is much shorter than the other. Like this. This is towards the outer part of the fan of the turkey tail. So when you're looking at these feathers for marrying purposes, this side is much softer, and it almost always has some sort of a upward sweep to it. On wing quills and duck quills, it's actually, you can't really use it because of how steep and firm that part of the feather is. That winds up splaying your wing out. If that's the look you want, then you can use it. But for typical classic salmon flies, that's not what we use. We want to use the side that's firmer, that's easier to shape, that you can manipulate better, that marries better and doesn't have this weird sweep to it. But now on the other hand, in this case, I'm going to be using the turkey center tail here. These are more towards the center than the others. So I'm going to use that for the wing. Now, I bring up the goose feather because if you look at this, this is a goose shoulder feather. This has the same deal. One side more than the other. Or one side is the same as the other. But a lot of times they do come with one more than the other. That sometimes confuses people when I show them that, you know, some feathers I only take from one side, where some feathers I take from the other. If I were making this wing out of goose shoulder instead of turkey, I would actually use the softer side on this turkey feather. Just because this is actually soft enough that it's pliable and it would still take the shape of the wing with the turkey that's in there, or with the goose that's in there. But being that goose is so much thinner and softer than turkey is, this side here would be thinner and softer and marry better with the goose than the stiffer side of the turkey tail. Okay, so I need my turkey tail. Sorry, I kind of stopped halfway through, just some thoughts that came into mind. Alright, so that's 3 and I need my 4th. Turkey tail marries very, very easily. So, let me just take this and come on now. There we go. Okay, since I'm holding the turkey tail, it's actually going to go across the top, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this right together. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm lining up this end. I'm not lining up the cut end. I'm lining up the end of the feather barbs themselves in such an orientation that they create that backslash that I was referring to earlier. In some cases, it may seem that one is a little more angled than the other, so you can actually adjust these a little bit. If you can see, they slide a little on each other. There is a little bit of room for adjustment. So if you do it a little at a time, then you can move the feather barbs around a little bit more. I believe that's wrong. There we go. No, I didn't cut the other part yet. I'm just using turkey instead of Cory Bustard. This pattern actually calls for quarry buster there. And then golden pheasant over the top. Okay, so there's our one. Now, I don't know if you noticed, while I was marrying that, I was slowly starting to kind of bend it in the opposite direction. Because remember, growing off the feather, they grew off in this orientation. But by the time they end up down here, see, it's in the opposite direction. That's because these, like I said, these slide on each other a bit. And by doing that and slowly working them through, it slowly changes their shape. See, this is the way they naturally come off of the feather. And then I lay it down on top of here. And then just slowly start curving it the opposite direction. Now, if you're doing this and you go to marry, say, right side of the feather to the left side, it won't marry. You may get it to stick for a couple of seconds, but it's not going to hold together. It'll never look right. It'll seem like something is just off. If that's the case, that's probably what's going on. Okay. So here we have a rough idea of what our married wing would look like. And now it, like I said, just a little at a time, curve it the opposite direction, and you can lay one over the other, pick them back up, and now you have your wing that is ready to be mounted on your fly. And if you look at the way this is all put together, like I said, we pay attention to this end. Line everything up over here. This is where you want it to be. You don't want to pay attention to this. This doesn't matter. You're going to cut all that off later anyhow. Once you've got it all together and it's ready to go, you can line it up. And that is our married wing for our Green Highlander salmon fly. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys learned something. If you did, give it a like. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. That helps me keep creating content. Share it with your friends. And keep tying. You know, get out there and see what you can do with different feathers and experiment. And it's amazing what you'll figure out. So, till I see you again, tight lines.